So, what are nightmares really? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in my living room on a gray, overcast day, but it's 70 degrees and it just feels phenomenal. Not too hot, not too cold, just a perfect sort of temperature to live in. And I wanted to hop on and make this video in particular because a subscriber asked a question asking me to make a video about nightmares. What are nightmares? Oftentimes people struggle with nightmares because of the fact that they believe they're out of control of their experience. And they'll think that something external is out to get them, that they believe in demons, external forces, or spiritual attacks, or some of those natures, or just the fact that they're having fearful ideas that are bubbling out in their mind as they sleep. The interesting thing about nightmares is we tend to think that we're out of control in that experience. The idea that we're out of control of our consciousness is probably one of the most prevalent and most harmful things to our experiences of life. We are the pinpoint of creation. And when we succumb to our fears, anxieties, and stresses, during the day we manage them. Well, during the night, you don't have those conscious moments of managing your fears like we do. But at nighttime, the fears get to play. So what's happening is those fearful experiences, right? Now, nightmares. Have I had nightmares? I sure have. I had nightmares about my father. When I was younger, before I overcame that outcome and let his story go. Because the reality of it is that the majority of our experiences of life are because of our past experiences. Our dreams, our nightmares are because of our past experiences and the things of our life. But until we put a period at the end of the last chapters, we're going to continue to play these things out in our conscious and our unconscious. And so it really comes down to understanding to break free of the nightmare cycle, you have to come down to this point of getting very present while you're conscious and declaring 8 hours of restful sleep, as opposed to believing that you're going to be afraid to sleep because of another nightmare. Because that concept that I'm afraid, that I'm out of control of this, is what happens when it plays out at night. We feel that out of control. We feel the dangers of the world coming up and at us. Feel these horrific things happening. But the more you can bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, bring the feeling of I am in control of this experience. Buddha says, what you think you become, you create your world, and so on. They all say that. But it always comes back to understanding that when we're not in the conscious physical world state, we are into a broader awareness, and we bring into that awareness what we believe. And if we believe fearful things will occur in our experience. Nightmares aren't curses or things that we can't overcome or attacks. What they really are is communication from our own consciousness. It's saying, look, you're afraid of this. Why are you afraid? Why are you succumbing to fears and anxieties? And it's a matter of declaring into your sleep, I am getting 8 hours of restful, joyful sleep, only having positive experiences and believing into that outcome. Nothing is out of your control unless you tend to believe or choose to believe it's out of your control, because that is what you're creating, being out of control of the experience. So let's look at this from the perspective of what are nightmares. Nightmares are not spiritual punishment, but or demonic visions. They're not something external that is evil trying to get you. They're not something that you are not in control of. It's something that you have chosen to be not in control of. But you always have the ability to be in control of your present moment experience, be asleep or not. They are not evidence of some dark presence that's haunting you or surrounding you. They are not some evil demonic force coming to get you. They are your own personal fears and anxieties playing out without the parameters and the limitations that you place on them when you're awake. So it comes back to you deciding that this is that you do have control, that you do have the ability to create your experience even in sleep. Nightmares are reflections of your subconscious mind. Your past experience has a lot of stuff in it. The subconscious mind is the underlying belief of all of your past experiences. And so the only way we change the subconscious mind is to make one positive present moment after another until those things that are in our past get further away from our experience until they're moot. So it really comes down to deciding in the here and now that you are in control. If you're seeing negative things, understand that's a reflection of thoughts that you're thinking. And you can break that cycle by just saying, I'm not doing that anymore. I am doing this instead. The subconscious bubbles out in moments when we're not on guard. And the one moment that you're most not on guard is when you're sleeping. The interesting thing is, I think of the world as kind of like scuba diving. We wake up in the morning and we draw a bunch of air into our lungs and we carry that air through the day. And about 16 hours later, we go, and we start exhaling, start releasing. Why do we draw that air in? Because we come into this experience of life where we have responsibilities and fears and anxieties and stresses that we have to manage in this space. 16 hours later, we start to yawn, we start to release the air that's being held by the fight or flight response. And so we actually are literally putting down our guards as we go to sleep. If you have things in your past that were negative, or you always felt like another shoe was going to fall, or you had abuse, or you had some sort of struggle in the past, understand you are the author of your story. You're the one who chooses what to write on the blank page. And until you put a period at the end of those stories, you'll be a character in those stories when your guards are down. So it comes back to you saying, no, I am being firmly and fully present. And from this point forward, I am creating a new life that has no fear or anxiety. It literally comes back to breaking down your fears and anxieties. The Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. So bringing yourself back to an emotionally free state, from free of fear and anxiety, and just fully expansively loving. You do that as often as you can, and the nightmares go away. Because now what's happening is you're creating new conscious moments that are going into your subconscious, and they are becoming the subconscious. And the more of those positive days that you stack, the less of those fearful things come. Know one thing, you're not being punished. This is not a punishment. Your nightmares are not punishment. Your nightmares are a product of beliefs. And those products of beliefs that come up affect your sleep when your guards are down. So understand, to change the subconscious, you have to consciously change it, because the subconscious mind is a product of our conscious mind. The subconscious mind is the underlying belief from our past experiences, but that means it's made from our conscious mind. So it's a matter of you getting very present and conscious when you're awake, and choosing to create joyful experiences into your life, loving experiences into your life, and put that experience of your life into a new framework of positivity.
And now, a quick word from our sponsor. Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com.
If your background was in religion, religion often talks in terms of warfare, the battle against good and evil, the fight against the dark and the light, all of these elements, and that we are supposed to be on the light side, and it's a constant battle. If your past experience comes from a religious background, you have that ideology ingrained in you in your subconscious mind, because they've given it to you. So you can release that, because God is love, and perfect love drives out fear. So be the love, be the present moment love, and say, I am not accepting any more fearful things into my life. When you are awake, exhale as much as possible. Shut off the primal fight or flight response, and bring yourself back to the nature that is you, the love that is at the bottom of every breath, that's right there within you. I often say, God is found at the bottom of every breath, and people will say, but I feel God in the inhale too. Well, my my statement is not a negation of inhaling. I'm not telling people to only exhale and never breathe in. What I'm saying is that in every breath we take, there is the connection. And when we fully exhale and we come back to the feeling of that fully relaxed sensation, then we are feeling God in the bottom of every breath. God is everywhere and God is everything. And in this moment, when we realize that we can align ourselves with the love of God, then the more we do that, the less fear we have, because perfect love drives out fear. And that feeling in the bottom of that exhale, which is the thing that we do to break the fight or flight response, is we exhale because the body's storing air in case it has to run or fight. So we exhale and release that as much as possible during the day. And then we make declarations. I am joyfully receiving 8 hours of restful sleep tonight. That will take you more than anything else. So that belief that that's going to happen will give you the greater experience of a restful night's sleep. Churches will give you fear-based ideologies, and fear-based ideologies disempower you. They tell you you're not worthy. They tell you you're not good. They tell you that the devil's out to get you and demons are coming for you and you're going to burn in hell and all these horrific things. So if religion is your trauma, that will absolutely cause nightmares. But in reality, if God is love, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. We've heard that before, haven't we? There is no greater power outside of you than the divine spark within you. You are one with God. You are connected to God. You carry the force of God within you. Hinduism said it clearly. The God consciousness, the Sit Sat-Ki, the individual sparks of consciousness within the one God. We're sparks of awareness within the one God, and the one God is love. If I am love inherently, then I have absolutely nothing to fear, because perfect love drives out fear. And the more you can release those fears in the daytime, the more you'll sleep better in the night. That fear in the nighttime could be something you've been avoiding. That fear in the nighttime could be a shadow of an old belief that you haven't let go of. Nightmares are just a mask that's covering love. And we get to take the mask off. We get to release the mask of chaos that is shielding or hiding the face of love itself, which is within us at all times. Understand that if you're praying for protection, that's because you're putting all your faith in fearful things. You don't need to be protected if there is nothing to fear. I am joyfully receiving a restful night's sleep. There's nothing to fear in that. Just believe it and go into that space. My method of sitting in love that I do is a real great reboot back to that wonderful space of that love within. Just sit down, exhale, feel the feeling there, and focus on that feeling just for a short time. 5 minutes is enough. You don't need to go hours in a day. Just 5 minutes would get you to that space of understanding that is the true essence of who you are. Before you go to sleep, declare that you're going to receive 8 hours of restful sleep, as I've said. That declaration is a chosen belief, and beliefs, our present moment beliefs, are what is created into our experience, even when we go to sleep. I am joyfully receiving a lovely night of 8 hours of restful sleep. The more you put yourself into that focus, and you're telling your subconscious, especially just before you're going to bed, just as you're drifting off into sleep, you're actually telling yourself as you drift into that state that this is what this state is going to be. This is what this experience is going to be. If a nightmare wakes you up, exhale. For me, if I wake up with a nightmare, I take one of my covers off because I'm obviously too hot. That's when I have nightmares, is when I feel uncomfortable. When I'm uncomfortable, my subconscious says you're uncomfortable and gives me bad experiences. So I take a cover off, I cool down, and I never have another nightmare that night. So for me, that's all a nightmare really is the fact that my physical body's uncomfortable, and my subconscious is saying you're not comfortable, and here's the subconscious experience of being uncomfortable, something fearful, something that's not that pleasant. Oftentimes people who have conditions like sleep apnea, because they're not getting into full restful sleep, their dreams are interpreting things as dying or attacks or something like that, and they gasp for air because they're actually not breathing in their sleep. So if that's the way your dreams are going, I would suggest you go get a sleep study and find out if you have sleep apnea or something of that nature. Just remember this: you are not a victim of anything or anyone. You are the empowered representation of God on earth, and you have the ability to be totally not afraid at night. You have the ability to choose to live in and sleep in a beautiful, loving, restful environment and a restful experience. But it always comes down to what you are choosing to believe, what you are choosing to create. And then when you have a nightmare and you interpret it as something you're out of control of, you will be out of control of it because you've chosen that. That's the chosen belief that you've given it. There is nothing external from you that's out to get you. So the dreams that are coming in are absolutely simply representations of your own belief systems. So it's a matter of finding what you fear. What did Yoda say? Oh, named must your fears be, before banish them you can. Named must your fears be, before banish them you can. Figure out what you're afraid of and release the fear, because your subconscious mind will play with the fears while you sleep. Break the fear. Come back to that space of understanding that the eradication of fear is the pathway to enlightenment. When you represent yourself as the light, there's nothing to fear in the dark. So take this moment and be the light. As you go to bed, be the light. Be the expression of the light. And the dark can't give you anything that is harmful, hateful, or scary. Remember, my friends, all the power is yours. It always will be. And in this moment, you have the ability to take that power and wield it into a beautiful, loving, restful night's sleep and a beautiful, loving life when you're awake. And when you do that, you change your entire experience. And that's my thought on this. You have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.